What's up, you guys? Vinny Vendetta here, and welcome to another Summoner's War video. Come on, Net5. Come on. Yes! Yes! Oh my god! GG, baby! In today's video, guys, we are moving along in our raid series. We are going to episode 3. This is Zero to Hero Frontlines. So today, guys, we're going to cover Frontlines, everything you need to know about Frontlines, what kind of monsters, what kind of stats, what kind of runes. And then at the end of the video, guys, we're going to showcase the Zero to Hero exclusive team, the No Excuses team that I showed off in episode 1, guys. I'm building a team that's 100% free to play, natural 2 stars, natural 3 stars only, and I'm building it alongside you guys as I'm making this series so that those that are starting from episode 1, you can watch each episode and you can get to R5 with me, guys. We're going to get there and we're going to do it with this team, and I'm going to do it with you guys just to show you that it's possible. I'm not using any grindstone rune, any runes that have been grindstoned or enchanted from raids. These are runes that are fresh out of Dragon's B10, guys. So if I could do it, you could do it. Everything you need to know about Frontlines right here, right now. Stay tuned. Okay, you guys, so the first thing we're going to talk about is the stat requirements. Now, mind you guys, these stats that I'm putting up on the screen right now, these are based on R5 requirements and a 2-man front line, okay? And I'll explain why those are the stats that we're choosing and what you can do to change that based on your needs. So, starting for the 2-man front line R5 requirements, you need 1500 defense and 25,000 HP. These are minimum stats, guys, minimum requirements for R5 2-man frontline. So I know those stats are kind of high, guys, but we are talking about R5 here, and we want to make sure that our monsters survive. There's nothing worse than doing like a 6-minute R5 run and then having somebody die at the last 5 minutes and 30 seconds and have to start over. So you want to make sure your frontline survives. Now, with that said, guys, with this team, the No Excuses team especially, it's hard to hit those stats. It's hard to hit those stats requirements. I'm gonna do it for you guys, but not everybody might have the runes that I have and are able to do it. But I'll show you how possible it is here in a minute. But I'm mentioning this, guys, because if you absolutely cannot meet those requirements, and but you have the runes to kind of make everyone else a little bit beefier, what you can do is do a 3-man front line, and that allows you to drop your stat requirements just a little bit. I'm not talking about bringing 500 defense monsters up into the front line now, but what it allows you to do, if you can't hit the 1500 defense, if you're around maybe 1200, 1300, then you can add another person to the front line, and but you got to make sure that all 3 of those still have that 12 to 1300. You can't have 2 that are 12 and 1300 and 1 that's 500. They all have to meet those requirements now. So 12 to 1300 defense on all 3 of those monsters, and then still around 20 to 25,000, probably 25,000 is the safest bet HP, guys. So if you're having trouble meeting those stats, you can beef up somebody else a little bit more and put them in the front line as well. But that's entirely up to you guys and what you're doing. If I can do it, guys, with these Nat 2-star monsters, then I feel like you guys can do it too. And when you see my runes, you're going to be really surprised. So I feel like you guys can do it. And like the disclaimer I put in the very beginning of episode 1, this isn't for people who are new to the game. You should already be farming Dragons, Giants, and Necro B10. It shouldn't be an issue for you. You should be having access to 6-star high-quality runes before you start raiding. That's just a gimme. Okay, guys, so that's stats. The next thing we're going to talk about is who do you want to bring in your front line? And guys, that is such a broad question, and honestly, it's got such an obvious answer as well. You can bring anybody into your front line. Anybody. You could bring a 1-star slime into your front line if somehow you manage to get it to 1500 defense and 25,000 HP. That is the requirement for frontline. It's not what monsters can do it, it's are they tanky enough. That's all there is to it, guys. Now, with that said, you do not want to bring a monster into your front lines for the sole purpose of being in the front lines. I'm going to reference back to episode 1, guys, and the chart that I gave you, I made for you guys. You have to meet those stat requirements, or those utility requirements per se. Your raid has to bring that much utility into the fight, and if you don't meet those requirements because one of those monsters, all he is a tank, then it's not going to work. So you have to meet everything, and then once you have that done, you probably want to take your tankiest 2 or 3 monsters out of those 6 and build them up to be in your front lines, okay? So now I'm not saying put your squishiest monster in the front lines. If you can do it, go ahead, but you have to make sure that their stats, you know, don't lack in other places because you're putting them in the front lines. For example, Konamiya, guys. He's our 2-star. We talked about him in the last video. He's going to be our main cleanser for this video. Now, I can give him 1500 defense, 25,000 HP, and put him in the front lines. But if his speed is only going to be like 140 because of it, then it's not a good idea, because since he's my solo cleanser, going to be my solo cleanser for the raid, I need him to be around 200 speed. And I can't give him 200 speed, and give him 1500 defense, and give him 25,000 HP, guys. So it just, what it comes down to is the runes that you have, and if you can give the monsters the stats they need to utilize their utility, as well as perform in the front lines as a tank. So yes, guys, you want to choose, you know, your tankier monsters, but they have to bring something to the fight. They have to bring some utility. And we're going to go over specific units here that have some good utility, that are widely used, you guys. And you can see, if you have those monsters, feel free to use them. If you don't have them, please use the chart that I gave you guys in episode 1 to plug in your monsters. Make sure your team has what it needs, and then use your tankiest monsters and build those ones to be in your front lines, or just build the exact same team that I'm doing, guys. It has a little bit higher rune requirements because they're Nat 2 and 3 stars. Their naturals base stats are low, so it takes a bit more runes, but it's possible, guys. I'm going to show you where I'm at so far, what I need to do to get us to R5, and yeah, so let's get into the monsters, guys. Okay, guys, so we're going to talk about the Death Knights, and like I said, we're going to keep this quick. We're not going to go as in depth as I did in the last episode on each of the monsters. If you have questions, put them in the comments below. I'll be happy to answer them. So let's go over the Death Knights. The most important being the Dark Death Knight, guys. Everything he does is good for raids. He offers reduced damage to allies, a great leader skill, and then he has 3 important debuffs: attack break, defense break, and heal block. Literally everything the Dark Death Knight does is important for raids, and he's a very great unit. I was not around in the game when he had his Hall Heroes, so I do not have him, so I have to make do with other monsters. But if you have the Dark Death Knight, by all means absolutely use him. He is amazing for frontlines. The other Death Knights that are mentionable, guys, is the Water Death Knight, and Bryant can be mentioned, and even Arnold can be mentioned. So in order of importance, you're looking at Diaz, the Dark One, Fedora, the Water, and then Arnold and Bryant are kind of at the bottom. So Fedora is the next best one, guys, because he brings a cleanse into the mix, cleanse and immunity for 2 turns, which is really good. So he can be a frontliner and a cleanser. And then Fedora also brings the defense break, the attack break, and the heal block as well. So a great utility monster there, with immunity, could be tanky, debuffs. He's awesome. You can bring him as a frontliner. I recommend it if you have him. The next 2 guys, they're kind of just there because the Death Knights got a buff a little while back, which gave them all really good leader skills for raids. They either have a 30% resistance lead or a 30% defense lead, which are both very important for raids. So that's kind of why they get mentioned. They both have the attack break and the heal block abilities. And then Bryant has the res in case one of your people dies, but it's not that effective. Usually when he does res, he evens out the HP of everybody, and then that kind of sets them up to die because everybody's HP just got dropped. So if you have them, you can use them. They are not the best of the Death Knights, but they're definitely options that you can use in the meantime until you get a better one. Alright, guys. Next, guys, is Archangels. Archangels are good all around, mainly because they have awesome defense-based stats. They are defense-based monsters, they have high defense, their damage is based on defense, and they all bring a pretty good amount of utility. Eladriel brings a res and a heal. Ariel brings a ton of heals. It can be a frontline tank and does damage based on defense. And then you guys have Belajul, who is a great cleanser and immunity and attack bar booster, as well as a frontline tanker because he has a high base defense. So very good monster there, guys. Now, like I mentioned him in the cleanser video, so if you are going to be using him in your front lines, then it's important to make sure that you also keep his speed high, because as a cleanser, you need a lot of speed and a lot of resistance. So if you are going to put him in your front lines, you got to make sure he comes up with all of those stats, not just the defense stats, guys. So next we're going to talk about Delphoi. Delphoi, same as Velajul, guys. She has the immunity and the cleanse and a small heal, and she has a high base defense. So you can put her in front lines, and a lot of people do, but you also have to make sure she has a decent amount of speed and a decent amount of resistance, so that she can, you know, not get stunned and cleanse your team, as well as take massive amounts of damage. So when you're putting immunity monsters or healers in the front lines, you need to, it kind of just increases their stat requirements, because they need to be able to take damage and pump out their utility, so they need speed and resistance. Okay, guys. Next one on the list is Xiong Fei, and probably my favorite just because he's fusible, guys. So he is a super tanky monster. He offers defense break with his first skill. He has an AoE heal, which is actually pretty good. I believe it's a 30% heal, but it's over 2 turns. And a self cleanse. And then his third skill will apply a random smorgasbord of debuffs, which is also very effective on the boss. So a great monster to bring in, very easy to rune. He has very low rune requirements, guys. He's fusible. So if you're at this point in the game, you should have him fused already. For the No Excuses team, I'm not going to use him because I don't want people to complain that they haven't fused him, even though you should have. Shame on you if you haven't. So work on fusing him, guys. He's an excellent monster, an excellent frontliner / support healer. So absolutely recommend him, guys. Please, please, please. If you don't have other options as frontliners, fuse him. He will make your raids so much easier, I promise you. One more we're going to talk about is Raviti, and Raviti is the Wind Harg, and he's good because he has a really high base defense as well. So he's, you know, he falls in the same lines as Delphoi and Velajul. He's tanky, where you can easily get him up to that 1500 defense and HP stats, and then he brings a cleanse to the table, and he brings an attack bar boost with his first skill. So just an all-around good monster. He also has a slow on his second skill for the boss. So he's an all-around good monster, but just like I've said with, you know, Delphoi and Velajul, when you bring cleansers to the front line, you have to make sure that they're also fast and have high resistance, as well as meet those tanky requirements. So it's just asking more from you guys in terms of runes, but it's definitely possible to kind of, you know, fill as many possible roles into one unit as you can. This one, guys, last one is the Monkey Kings, and preferably the Wind and the Fire, because their passives are just so strong and they have high base defense. They're defense-based monsters, so the Fire one's going to be getting all kinds of stacks and doing a ton of damage, and the Wind one is going to be counter-attacking when your allies get hit, and they both offer defense breaks. So really great monsters there, but they're nat 5s. You know, so are the Archangels. So not everybody has them, but if you do have them, Monkey Kings, the Wind and Fire are great in raids as well. So I know I kind of just grouped all those guys into one big mesh, and it's mainly because it's either they're a cleanser / healer, or they're not. And so for cleansers / healers, guys, you're gonna rune them with the minimal requirements that we went over, and then you want them to have high speed and high resistance. If you don't know the amount, go check out episode 2, which covers cleansers, and we're going to get to healers in the next episode. So for cleansers, go check out episode 2 for specific stat requirements that they need. You would need to meet those requirements, and you would need to meet the defense and HP requirements for frontline tankers. Anything else, guys, you can keep them slow. It doesn't matter. Usually they're pretty easy to rune. If they're just bringing you know, first skill debuffs, then put them on Revenge. If they're bringing second skill debuffs, then I wouldn't recommend putting them on Violent, and we'll get into that too in just a second. Just make sure that they have the stat requirements, a little bit of accuracy, so that they land their debuffs, and that's it. That's it. They can still bring their debuffs and, you know, be a frontline tanker and still have enough utility to include them in your raid. So as far as the rune set goes, guys, I'd recommend anything with Revenge, anything with Energy, and anything with Guard to make your stat requirements easier. Other than that, do not put them on Violent, and if they're not a cleanser / healer, do not make them very fast, and I'll tell you why. The 16 counters that the boss does and then strips everybody's beneficial effects and stuns them. It's every time a monster takes a turn, right? So in order to counter that, we want our cleanser to move as often as possible. And if he stuns everybody, and on, you know, say everybody gets stunned, so that's 6 turns in. On the 7th turn, if you made your, you know, your frontliner really fast, and all he's going to do is put a defense break on the boss, and you made him really fast and he's on violent, so he takes the 7th turn, then he violent procs and takes the 8th turn, then he violent procs and takes the 9th turn. Now you only have 7 turns to get back to your cleanser and hopefully get their cooldowns up in time so that they can cleanse the team. So you really want your cleanser to get as many turns as possible, so I don't recommend putting any of your frontliners on violent unless of course they are your cleanser, like Delphoi, like Bella Jewel, like Raviti, in which case that's okay because we want them to have the turns. But monsters that are in frontline and only offer, you know, secondary attack debuffs or primary attack debuffs, you don't want them on violent. You can put them on revenge and then just give them the stats that they need, guys. So you want to make sure your cleansers get as many turns as possible. So you want to make sure they're pretty much the only ones on violent. If you're going like a solo healer, then maybe have them on violent, but we'll get into that in the healer episode. So no violent, guys, for your frontliners unless they're your cleansers, okay? And with that said, guys, let me show you where I'm at with my frontline for the No Excuses team right now. If you don't know the team, guys, the team is, we're running Darien, we are running Rakaja, the Wind Yeti, we're going to do Lulu, the Water Howl, Konamiya, we're going to go Calling, and then we're going to go Ardella as our 6th as our damage dealer. So our frontline, guys, is going to be Darien and Rakaja. We have a natural 3-star, which is a secret dungeon, and then we have a natural 2-star. So let's look at Darien first. These are the stats that I have currently. They're going to get better before I take them in, but this is what I have right now. We're looking at about 2350 in terms of HP, so 23,500 HP. So we're almost at the 25,000 mark. And then defense, guys, we're already over 1,500. So we have room to improve on his runes. I'll show you his runes. Now, don't yell when you see these runes. They're not the best runes in the world. Obviously, look at this set. We have Energy, Broken Nemesis. I mean, and the Nemesis is not... You can't... Oh, you guys can put Nemesis on your frontliners so that their attack bar gets increased when they take damage. But it's not 100% necessary, especially if you don't want them to be taking that many turns. I only have it on there because they had good stats. So look, we have an HP rune here, which I'm going to be able to get to plus 15. It's going to give me an extra 20%, extra 19% HP. So that'll put us kind of over where we need to be. And then we have defense and defense, which this one can also improve. Guys, I don't even have these to 12. These can go to 15. So as you can see, I don't have like crazy rune sets. They are 6-star runes, and I recommend that you have 6-star runes. But they're not crazy, like out of this world runes. They're average runes, average 6-star runes, guys, that I got from Dragon's B10. None of them are grindstoned. And as you can already see, even without finishing those runes, we're almost there. We pretty much have the stat requirements that we need on Darien to put him as in a frontline in raid 5 with only 2 frontliners. Our next one is Rakaja, guys, and he's a little bit behind. I need to work on his runes a little bit more too. We're looking at about 25,800 HP, so he's good on the HP. Defense is still a little bit low. We're at like 1430-ish, so I need at least another 70 defense. I can max this rune out, which is going to give me a little bit more. And then I think that's it. I think I already maxed these. Yeah. So defense, HP. If I max this rune out, guys, that'll get me pretty close to where I need. I might switch out another rune somewhere on him. And again, look at these stats, guys. It's energy, endure, broken. There's nothing crazy about these runes, okay? Yes, they're 6-star runes, but like I said, I recommend you have them. You should already be in Dragon's B10. That shouldn't be an issue. So with these current stats, I have him at about 140 speed. And he is going to be one of my healers, guys, so I do want to get that speed up. I'm going to mess around with his runes a little bit more. He's got a decent amount of resistance. I'd like it to be at 59 because we're going to take the 41% resistance lead. I'll put him at 100%. So he's one of those frontliners where I also need him to be fast, which is difficult because he's an at 2-star and he has really low base HP and like averagely based defense. So it's kind of hard to get all those stats, and that's what I was talking about to you guys earlier. When you're putting someone like a healer or a cleanser in the front line, it just puts that much more stress on your runes. But like I said, guys, broken sets here. Just giving him the highest substats and base stats that I can so that we can meet those requirements. And we're almost there. We're not far off. If I just upgraded this rune to plus 15, I could pretty much call it a day. Especially with Darian's passive, which is going to decrease the amount of damage that my party takes, kind of like Diaz. So that's where I'm at, guys, with the No Excuses team so far with my front line. So they're ready to go pretty much. I'm going to work on Rakajal a little bit, get him a little bit faster and a little bit more defense. So he'll be ready to go by that time, guys. So that's my front line. 2 monsters, 1 nat 2-star, 1 nat 3-star, which has a secret dungeon every Sunday. Very easy to obtain. That's going to be my front line for R5, guys, and it will work, I promise you. I've already tested it out, and Rakasha doesn't even have skill ups, and both of them have already survived. I just want them a little bit better. I want my Rakasha to be a little bit faster and have a little bit more defense to survive. So anyway, guys, that's where we're at with the No Excuses team right now. I know I don't have raid footage for you guys yet, but I'm waiting until I've talked about the whole team, and then we're going to be doing raid footage of R5, and I'm going to go over the specific monsters in the No Excuses team again as we're showing the actual raid footage in the background. So anyway, guys, that's where we're at. I just wanted to briefly cover some of the monsters that you use in the front lines. I know there's more. If you have a monster that you think is really good and you use them, put them in the comments below so other people can see, and we'll try to get as much information on them as we can. And that way we could just, help everybody out. Because I can't include everything. I can't make these like hour-long videos, guys, because it's already 20 minutes and I know you don't want to watch it that long. So help us out, guys. Help the community out by putting that information down. That really helps out. I appreciate it so much. And if you guys just have other questions in general, feel free to comment or email me, guys. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And if you haven't seen episode 1 and episode 2, guys, highly recommend going back, especially to episode 1, which goes over our chart and our No Excuses team to help you. If you want to follow along monster by monster, you can build this team with me, or you can plug in your monsters with the chart and build your own team, but still follow along and get your stats up and get to R5 with us. So anyway, guys, that's it. That's all I have for you for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you guys' likes and subs, and if you guys don't like the videos, please give it a thumbs down, but tell me why you didn't like it. I want to improve on my content so that I can make stuff that you guys like to watch, because I don't want to sit here and spend a couple hours making a video that nobody wants to watch. I want to make something that you guys want to see, so I want to improve my content, guys. Anyway, that's it. I'm done rambling. That's all I got for you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for sticking through this. And as always, guys, I'll see you in the next one.